Hi, not a lot accomplished since last week, but not nothing. I said I was feeling very much like I wanted to sew dresses. I did sew a dress. It wasn't for me, but I still sewed something. So that was where a lot of my time, hobby time went. I packed up a box for Tiffy and mailed it today, and I packed up a thank you box for Brick Hat and mailed that today too. The cloth that she sent is still right here. I haven't really gotten anywhere near figuring out what to do with it yet. Just like the cloth that Cosmo sent and the cloth that Tiffy sent is also right here. One thing I did do is, last week I put the benzoyl peroxide 10% concentration on Lithe Grandma's legs, and so here she is. The stains are not completely gone. Let's see. They're a lot better than they were. Basically, they got faded from bluish black, like there's one right there, to just a little bit darker than skin tone, so that's fine. It's a little reddish, and like I said, I know they're there, and I'm having a problem finding them, so I'm really not going to worry about eliminating them more. So now I need to actually start working on her. Like, I want to get her at least styled hair, if not a completely better hair fiber, but reroot's not gonna. I got a lot of dolls in line for a reroot. So, but in general, so I can get Buff Grandpa and Lithe Grandma together for some photos. Eventually. I have been doll sewing. I sewed an attempted sewer kameez for the... It occurred to me this morning, I've been thinking of for the last 20 years that it was Lanard. It could be, the toy company name could be Lanard. It's L-A-N-A-R-D. Chip. So, Lanard is nicer sounding than Lanard. Or it could be another pronunciation that I'm not even thinking about. Anyway, that company made these jet setter dolls in the late 80s. And as I mentioned when I found her in the box of dolls that Flo sent, thanks again, I had a blonde one of these who came in like, her theme was beauty contestant, so she came in this long white ball gown. So I had her in the late 80s just because I'd had Amigo candy and a supersized Barbie. So this is like, oh, another doll that's 18 inches. I will get this to go with those. And I actually don't know what happened to that doll, which is kind of weird because I know what happened to just about all my dolls. Anyway, I don't have a lot to talk about this week, so I'm obviously filling in things. So, a few years ago, I thrifted these kameez. They were on the 99-cent rack because they had oil stains on them. So, and this is polyester. You don't get oil out of polyester. So I was able to cut around that and make, this is not the best fit. I'm eventually going to make something that fits this doll better because she has, for a doll, a tiny head and a big bulky body, although actually she's a little more human proportions. I think she's at just about 7 heads tall when I do the unofficial measuring. Although, her hands, like, I mean, everyone agrees this is a gorgeous face, but the hands, they just gave up when they got to the hands, didn't they? And it feels like her arms are short, but I'm not sure if they actually are because of where it lines up the crowd. I just think she needs bigger hands. So, I probably wouldn't do anything because this is a more uncommon doll, but if I ever happen to find a set of hands in the right skin tone that were bigger than these, I might cut these off, drill out the arm, and put the other hands on because these hands are just sad. Anyway, so I threw these together pretty fast. They don't fit so great. The dupatta is the scarf that's traditionally worn with the salwar and the kameez, but this is not long enough or drapey enough to look right when it's around her neck, so I just have it elastic banded to her hand. And the thing I was most amused about was, where am I going to find shoes for this odd-sized doll? Well, I got into my shoe stash and started looking at the Hasbro Shoesies, which, if you recall Hasbro Shoesies, they're from about, I can't remember 2001, 2, or 3, early 2000s, close enough to Y2K for me to consider them Y2K style. And they were the Hasbro's answer to tech decks. You know, tech decks are those skateboards that you're supposed to skate with your fingers. These were for girls to put on their fingers and walk around with. So shoesies didn't last very long, but a lot of us back then discovered that they were about the right size for some female action figure feet. I got these more recently from someone else who I probably had bought them for female action figures long ago. They didn't quite want to fit on her feet, but I dropped them in some boiling hot water and that softened them enough that they are a very good match for her feet. The curve of the heel height and everything is just about right. So these shoes don't match her outfit perfectly, but they're a lot better than I thought I would come up with. And the other thing about this doll was she had this area in her hairline that was missing. It's about 6 plugs that were missing the hair, or the hair there was very thin. So I went ahead and just, before I even knew I would dress her in something neon colored, this led to my decision to dress her in neon colors. And yes, I'm still padding, I'm still talking too much. I picked out this sort of neon pink hair fiber that I got from someone. And I think they might have gotten it for free because the sticker on it just says like Happy Holidays from, I forget which company the doll hair came from, but Happy Holidays from wherever they bought doll hair. So I went ahead and filled that in there. And I noticed when I tried to boil set it just so it would be, you know, as curly on the ends as the original hair. And that kind of worked, but I cut it to be about the same length as other parts of the hair, but those other parts of the hair aren't near that part of the hair, so I need to trim it a little bit more. Anyway, when I boil set it, when I got it dunked in that super hot water, I discovered that it's color change. And I don't know if my fingers are going to be warm enough to get it to change, but it goes from this neon pink to a lighter pink. And yeah, my fingers aren't warm enough today to get it to change, so I actually like this darker pink, so I probably won't do anything much to make the color change happen, but it's there. And I have a lot more of this hair. It probably more than enough to do another doll with entirely this hair color. Someday, like I said, reroots. I like the result, I don't like the process. I got a lot of dolls waiting for a reroot. So anyway, there's the Leonard Jet Setters. Maybe Leonard, I don't know. If anybody does know, please let me know. I guess I could email them, they're still around. Anyway, so that was her. And then the other big project was, you know, last week I was getting the pipe cleaners in the hair of the Integrity Toys Tula Belle that Flo sent also, thanks again. And so I got the hair set. Flo told me that the hair fiber is Saran, and Saran is the nicer hair fiber, and the thing about doll hair fibers is that the nicer the hair fiber tends to be, the worse it tends to be at holding a curl. So he told me I needed to put some sort of set on it, and now a normal person would just grab their can of hairspray. I don't have hairspray. I do have hair gel that I bought just for doll use, and it's pretty hard gel. It's like whenever I want anything harder than that, I just go straight to the glue. But it's really sticky, and I have never tried putting it on the hair before I wrap it up in the pipe cleaners or the straws as a curlers, because I can just imagine it sticking to everything. So what I did is I took a craft sealer from the craft paint aisle, satin finish polyurethane craft sealer, and I diluted it to be the right consistency, go through the airbrush, and I filled up the 1/4 ounce cup on my airbrush, and I just sprayed that all on her hair. I don't know if it's going to help her hair hold, but it didn't make it crunchy, so that's fine. And yesterday I threw together the fastest dress probably ever on one of these Integrity Toys 16-inch dolls. So here is her big bouncy curly hair, and as you can see, some of these curls already are not doing well. But I don't know if that's because I happen to miss them with the airbrush, or if it's because I've accidentally caught them like under her arms and straightened them out that way. I also painted over her eyes so they are brown and side glancing now. Her original eyes are center gaze light blue. And I wanted to try to extend her lips just a little bit to give her maybe more of a hint of a smile, which from some angles it's almost there, but so I didn't mix up the color perfectly to match her lips, so I went ahead and painted over most of her lips. I missed some spots. I painted over her lips with this nearly the right color pink. I don't know if you can see, comparing it to her nail polish. It's close. Her original lips had a pearl finish on them too, and while I usually put pearl finish on everybody's lips, I decided not to do it on her. And I actually like the slightly darker pink on her better. And I added pastel blush. So I didn't change her paint a lot, but I feel like she's a little more me of a doll now, my kind of doll, and I don't know if that's just because I've spent so much time with her making these small changes, or if the small changes are enough to make her feel more like my kind of doll. And then the dress, this is some of the cloth I got when Phantasm Creation destashed a lot of cloth last year. And really, this is all of it I had. It's actually the main stretch is this way, but there's enough stretch this way that I felt like I could get away with doing this. And a few years ago, I shared a pattern called the cloth and thread halter dress, and I called it cloth and thread because there's no fasteners to it, so all you need to make it is cloth and thread. And I used the top of that for the pattern of the top of this dress. It's like the ties are really tiny because, again, that's all there was of this cloth. So initially I sewed it as just a column all the way down, but you know, a doll needs to be able to walk, right? And the idea of making a doll dress like this reminded me of, in the late 90s, there was a Teen Skipper Fashion Avenue outfit that was a long, narrow halter dress like this. It was yellow stripes. And so this just made me think it was super late 90s to Y2K style. So I also got a pair of shoesies onto her. Again, these are huge and they don't really fit her at all. But I just think it's hilarious how early 2000s these shoes are. So she got that with her vaguely late 90s, early 2000s dress. And I am very tempted to make a little shrug out of this. It would look something like this. And that's so 20 years ago. Which of course I think is hilarious to put on the doll who's supposed to be super high fashion, but also super elegant, retro, like 1960s style. Because if you looked up anything about the Tula Belle doll, she's supposed to be the granddaughter of the Integrity Toys Poppy Parker doll, who was supposed to be a model in the 60s. So supposedly Tula Belle inherited her grandmother's fantastic wardrobe, although, you know, models don't actually own the clothes they wear in the photo shoots. So just the idea that this doll ends up wearing kitschy stuff from 20 years ago instead of elegant, refined stuff from 50 or 60 years ago amuses me. But that's the way my brain works. And I thought that would be everything, but I went to the post office and there was a package from Tiffy. Yeah, nobody wants those 1980s skipper bodies except apparently me, because I find them amusing. So, here is skipper body with a Tactic nub. The rest of it in here is stuff, a thing for John. So yeah, I mean, John knows he's getting it. There's no need for me to take it out. So, Teen Skipper body for me to play around with. I actually have enough of these. She's not Teen Skipper, I know I just said Teen Skipper. I have enough of these 1987 Skipper heads bouncing around now that I could actually put one back on this body and try to restore the doll. Which, yeah, eventually maybe, if I ever run out of other stuff to do, which I'm rambling now. So, short video this week. I still want to make another dress because even though it's obviously rather chilly today for May, it's supposed to get back to proper temperatures soon, so I will need more than 4 dresses to rotate through. And I have a lot of dolls that I can sew for, and I'm trying to make this video longer, aren't I? But just add this to the 6 minutes of opening the cloth from Brit Cat yesterday, and we have a decent amount of video for this week, right?